expecting that one. Yeah, they're just the great. This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on. Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
Meghan Markle's No Makeup podcast was meant to show vulnerability. Instead, it exposed strategy. Viewers immediately noticed the contradictions: flawless skin, salon-perfect hair, and professional lighting. This wasn't raw, it was rehearsed. Jamie Kern-Lima, her interviewer, didn't ask questions. She worshipped. "You look the same without makeup," she gushed.
All the time.
Same thing.
And you look the exact same with no makeup as makeup, and we're just
that's very
The conversation felt like a commercial, not a reveal. Every topic led back to Meghan's brand, her pain, her hustle, but nothing landed as genuine. Midway through, a photo appeared, a basket of homemade jam and ice cream. The card was signed Her Royal Highness. Meghan lost that title years ago and was told not to use it. Critics saw it for what it was: branding disguised as nostalgia.
It kind of f***ed up their whole thing. Went way too hard on we're victims, and they assessed the mood of their generation and America correctly in that we are lovers of victimhood.
Yeah.
But America did finally find a way to say, you know what, we love victims, but you two, we've just had a little too much of it.
Then Bill Maher stepped in and said what millions were already thinking. On his show, he didn't just criticize Meghan's podcast, he dismantled it. He called out the fake vulnerability, the polished performance, the strategic sob story. It wasn't a takedown, it was a demolition. Maher mocked the authenticity angle, pointing to the staged appearance and over-the-top praise. He didn't hold back, and because he's known for saying what others won't, his words hit harder.
Have you been hanging out with Meghan and Harry since
No.
they've been in California?
No, I don't know them.
What do you think of them?
I admire Harry for going to Afghanistan. Anybody who's had military
Yeah, I agree.
service, I can only criticize so much because I haven't. And there's nothing that compares to military service. But they're ridiculous after that. They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Meghan wasn't just being doubted, she was being openly mocked. The internet lit up. Clips of Maher's rant went viral. Memes exploded. Even people who'd stayed neutral started speaking up. Her attempt at a redemption arc had turned into a punchline. And with Maher's voice leading the charge, the backlash went mainstream.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout, you know, and like she's completely camera ready, except she didn't put eye makeup on. And she also is pretending like she's crying. And we did a zero in, like we zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight. Dan, look at this. I invite the viewers to take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear? There's nothing there. Look, it's an actor's trick. She just keeps wiping and wiping and wiping.
In the middle of the podcast, a photo flashed on screen, a gift basket with jam, ice cream, and a handwritten note. But it wasn't the contents that drew backlash, it was the signature. Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. That title isn't hers anymore. After stepping back from royal duties, Meghan was told not to use it in any official or personal capacity.
And you dropped off this gift basket with ice creams, homemade strawberry sauce to put on top of the ice cream, just to see if that helps lighten my load. It was like as if you're in my shoes, feeling what I was feeling, without me even needing to tell you anything, and you're doing something that adds value to my life.
But here it was, front and center, tied to a lifestyle brand built on humility. You can't cry victim while signing gifts like a queen.
40 minutes into the podcast, this little picture, quite a grainy picture, flashed up, which shows a basket of, homemade preserves with a card on it, HRH, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan.
I find it a little bit cringe to give a gift to a close friend and sign it Her Royal Highness.
Next came the Netflix segment, Meghan, barefoot in a designer kitchen, pretending to be a relatable homemaker. Viewers weren't convinced. She looked uncomfortable holding a knife, awkward zesting a lemon, and visibly unsure how to cut a strawberry.
She is doing a cooking show on Netflix. I only watched 5 seconds of it. I thought she was going to cut her wrist by trying to zest a lemon. This girl has never been in the kitchen in her life.
Then came the flower petals on scrambled eggs. Social media shredded it. One comment nailed it: she cooks like someone who just Googled how to be wholesome. behind the scenes, it got worse. Customers complained they never received their orders. Even Goop reportedly passed on a collaboration. Too much controversy, not enough credibility. If Meghan wanted to sell simplicity, she had to live it. Instead, she looked like someone staging authenticity with props and Pinterest. And just when the brand was collapsing, she grabbed a mic at Time 100.
Let's talk about flower sprinkles. Because I think it speaks to the tiny moments of joy that are so effortless and just create a little bit of magic that we're all craving in our everyday. They're tiny little flower petals that are dry. I started putting them on salads. I started putting them on scrambled eggs. It didn't actually matter. On a yogurt parfait. The level of charm that you find people have when they see these tiny little dried petals is something I can't fully wrap my head around, but I appreciate.
Meghan didn't make Time's 2025 most influential list, but somehow still ended up on stage at their summit. Her speech, a string of vague buzzwords about magic, joy, and cupcake sprinkles. It was meant to inspire. Instead, it sounded like a parody. Critics compared her to an AI life coach. The delivery felt rehearsed. The content, empty.
Didn't make the Times list of cool people, but she did get invited there because her agency probably bought her access. This is one of the goofiest things ever.
Elevating it by putting dried flower petals on all of my food.
No real stories, no substance, just branding wrapped in positivity. Then came the rumors. Her PR team allegedly bought the speaking slot. She wasn't there for recognition. She was there for optics. It looked like another attempt to stay relevant without actually earning it. While Meghan pushed her image, Harry reignited tensions with the royal family. In a BBC interview, he accused King Charles of cutting off security and claimed the crown would be to blame if anything happened to his wife or kids.
He lost at the trial court level on this push to make the British royal family pay for his security when he goes to the UK.
Once they realise that myself, my wife, and our kids are happier outside of the institution, please just look at the fact. Look at the risks, look at the threat, look at the impact that if anything was to happen to me, my wife, or my father's grandchildren, look where the responsibility lies.
What a manipulation. My father's grandchildren. They're gonna and it will be his fault.
It's gaslighting on a grand scale.
Charles is battling cancer and Harry's framing it like a threat. Public reaction was swift. What once felt like advocacy now looked like manipulation. Even longtime supporters called it emotional blackmail. Insiders said the palace was stunned. Critics said it crossed a line. You can't preach peace while turning personal grievances into press ammo. And for many, this sealed the shift. From misunderstood royals to out-of-touch celebrities. But then came the final moment, the tear that ended it all. It was the moment meant to break hearts, one single tear slipping down Meghan's cheek mid-sentence. A flawless drop, falling just as the emotions supposedly peaked. But instead of sympathy, viewers raised eyebrows, because they'd seen this act before. Clips from her old Suits promo resurfaced almost instantly. In one, Meghan joked about her ability to cry on command. "Left eye, go," she snapped, laughing as the tear fell right on cue. That lighthearted brag suddenly cast a shadow over her podcast performance, because now that tear didn't look heartfelt. It looked rehearsed. The reaction was brutal. Comment sections lit up. One viewer wrote, "Even her tears are union-backed." Another called it Hollywood method acting in a podcast studio. The overwhelming consensus: if you need to cry to be believed but no one feels it, it's not connection, it's manipulation. Even longtime supporters found themselves uncomfortable. This wasn't the raw Meghan they were promised. It was a character, a carefully directed scene wrapped in vulnerability but delivered with the precision of a PR campaign. And once that illusion cracked, so did the public trust. And just like that, the tear that was supposed to redeem her image ended up tearing it apart. What started as a quiet comeback ended in a full-blown credibility crisis. Meghan Markle set out to reintroduce herself, raw, real, and stripped of royal polish. But what the world saw wasn't vulnerability. It was branding, performance, and just enough imperfection to feel suspicious. From the flawless lighting in her no makeup podcast to the Duchess-signed jam jars, every moment felt more curated than candid. And when even her tears were doubted, compared to old clips where she boasted about crying on command, the final thread snapped. Authenticity can't be staged. And once the audience feels like they're being sold a story instead of being told the truth, they stop listening altogether. Now, the question isn't whether Meghan can bounce back. It's deeper than that. Can a brand survive when people no longer believe in the person behind it? Because the public doesn't want royalty in disguise. They want someone who's real, even when it's messy. And for Meghan, this time, the mask may have slipped too far to be fixed. If you thought this podcast was wild, just wait, because the Markle machine isn't slowing down, and neither are we. Hit that subscribe button for more untold stories and celebrity meltdowns the mainstream won't touch. Drop a comment with your take. Was this a PR disaster or a misunderstood comeback? Either way, one thing's clear. This story, it's far from over.